Have you ever wondered if an imaginary friend could become real? Not, physically real, but a truly independent voice inside your own head. Well, today we're going to dive into this really wild intersection of psychology, ancient meditative practices, and something that looks a lot like simple child's play. Let's see how it all connects.
You hear that and you'd think it's a parent talking about their kid, right? But it's actually an adult describing their relationship with a companion doll. This quote it perfectly captures this incredibly deep emotional connection that goes way beyond just playing with a toy. And it really sets the stage for everything we're about to unpack. So, how does this even happen? Well, to get to the bottom of it, we've got to start by looking at the world of companion dolls and figure out why they can become so much more than just, objects. Okay, so there's actually a name for this. Researchers call it a synthetic relationship. And here's the absolute key. The companion, the doll, might be synthetic, but the feelings of love, of attachment, of comfort, those are 100% real. Your brain, you see, doesn't always care where that emotional connection is coming from. So what's so special about a physical doll? Why is it so powerful? It's not just about what's in your head, it's about doing things. The physical acts, cuddling the doll, brushing its hair, changing its clothes, that stuff taps into a really deep-seated human need to nurture, to give care. This performance of care is an active process, not a passive one, and that active process is what kicks off the bonding. It can even start to reshape the owner's identity, giving them this new, meaningful role as a caregiver. Now, this whole idea of forming a deep bond with an object, it has a fascinating and way more intentional parallel in this pretty esoteric practice. To really get what's going on, we have to step into a different world entirely, the world of tulpamancy. So what on earth is a tulpa? Well, a tulpa is basically an imaginary friend that's been elevated to a point where it's perceived as being sentient. The people who create them, who are called tulpamancers, experience their tulpas as fully autonomous beings sharing their mind, complete with their own independent thoughts, emotions, and free will. Okay, so how does someone even make one of these? Well, it's definitely not by accident. A tulpa is intentionally created through this very specific and disciplined set of mental exercises, and they're all known by one name, forcing. Think of it like a dedicated workout for your brain. All right, so this table breaks down the main techniques. It's like a mental workout plan. You've got personality forcing, which is just what it sounds like. You're literally building a personality from scratch. Then there's passive forcing. This one's interesting. It's just talking to the tulpa in your head as you go about your day, narrating your life to them. Active forcing is more like dedicated meditation, really focusing on them to make them feel more real. And finally, form forcing is all about visualizing them in intense detail. Now keep these techniques in your back pocket because they're about to become super important. Okay, this is it. This is the absolute core of what we're talking about today. What happens when the world of just, playing with dolls smashes right into the world of tulpamancy, and nobody even sees it coming? And this is where it all clicks. Look at this comparison. On the left, you have the simple, totally intuitive things a doll owner does. On the right, the formal techniques of tulpamancy. When you're constructing a personality for one's doll, well, that's basically personality forcing. And remember that quote from the very beginning, telling her about my day? That is a textbook example of passive forcing. And all the physical stuff, brushing their hair, cuddling them, that acts as a kind of tactile visualization, grounding this imaginary character in a real physical sensation. So, that brings us to the big question, doesn't it? Without any knowledge of this obscure practice, are these doll owners unintentionally following the exact same blueprint for creating a sentient, mental companion? The parallels are, they're just impossible to ignore. Okay, so if this is really happening, how? What's going on in the brain to make this possible? The answer is all about the incredible and, frankly, kind of weird way our brains are wired to see the world. The best way to think about your brain is as a reality simulator. Its number one job is to build models of the world to predict what's going to happen next. But here's the crazy part. The bits of your brain that light up when you imagine something are pretty much the same bits that light up when you perceive something for real. To your brain, a vividly imagined reality can feel almost identical to actual reality. And this whole process kicks off a really powerful feedback loop. Here's how it works. First, you simulate. You just keep imagining a personality and how it would respond. Then your brain starts to model. The parts of your brain that handle social stuff, they build this really detailed mental file on this person.
Pretty soon, your brain gets so good at running the simulation that it starts to predict what that person will do or say, all on its own. And that leads to this moment of pure surprise, where it feels like they thought of something you didn't. And that feeling, that experience of a separate mind, it just reinforces the whole model, making it even stronger and more independent.
But wait, there's one last really crucial piece to this whole puzzle. Why is a physical doll so much more potent than just a regular old imaginary friend? Well, the doll acts as something some researchers call a material anchor. It's a physical object that literally anchors your internal imagined world to the external sensory one. It gives that mental being a physical home, a place to exist in the real world.
So here's how it all comes together. That physical touch gives you what's called contact comfort. It's calming. The weight of the doll in your arms gives you sensory grounding. And this constant stream of physical feedback starts to merge with that autonomous mental model we just talked about. And the result? It's pretty profound. The doll isn't just a symbol of the companion anymore. For the brain, the doll is the companion. The mental and the physical just fuse, and you get this powerful, undeniable experience of a living, present being.
So we're left with this question, right? If our brain processes an imagined companion as a separate consciousness and a physical object makes that presence feel tangible and real, then what is the actual line between real and unreal? It's a question that challenges our very definition of consciousness itself.